Right now, in every city, in every bar, in every gym parking lot, the same scene keeps repeating. A man sees a woman he's genuinely interested in. He notices her. He feels that pull in his chest. His instinct says, go, start something. You'll regret it if you don't. And then a second voice cuts in. The voice that's been trained by headlines, HR meetings, social media, horror stories from other men. That voice says, is this worth it? What happens if this goes wrong? What can she do to you? What can they do to you? And he stays seated. From the outside, people say, men these days are weak, cowardly, afraid of women. Inside, something else is happening. Men aren't just nervous, they're running calculations. They're looking at the risk-reward ratio of approaching modern women in modern environments, and for more and more men, the math isn't adding up. In this breakdown, I'm going to walk you through 8 brutal reasons why even strong, confident, high-value men are withdrawing from the approach game, and what a smart man can do about it without becoming bitter, passive, or invisible. This is not about turning you into a victim. It's about making sure you see the board clearly before you make your next move. 1. The consequences have gone. Nuclear. The first and most important shift is this. The cost of a mistake has gone from mild embarrassment to potential life damage. 20 or 30 years ago, if you approached a woman and it went badly, what happened? Maybe she turned you down. Maybe her friends giggled. Maybe you felt awkward for a few hours. The worst case outcome was emotional discomfort. Now, a bad interaction can turn into a secretly recorded video, uploaded to TikTok, Instagram, Reddit cut, captioned, mocked, shared. You're no longer just the guy who tried and failed. You're creepy gym dude, weird guy in Starbucks, harasser on the train, to potentially millions of strangers who know nothing about context and don't care. And that's just the social side. In a world of weaponized HR policies, reputation-sensitive employers, and zero-tolerance corporate culture, the jump from, I felt uncomfortable, to file a complaint, call HR, escalate this, is not as big as people pretend. A shaky, awkward compliment that lands wrong with the wrong person, in the wrong mood, recorded on the wrong day, can now touch your job, your professional licenses, your business partnerships, your ability to work in certain industries. Ask yourself if you're a man who's spent 10, 20, 30 years building a career, a company, a name, does any random approach to a stranger justify that risk? Most men aren't afraid of women. They're afraid of losing everything to a misunderstanding in an environment that automatically assumes male guilt and female victimhood. That's not cowardice, that's self-preservation. So what do men do? They play defense, silence instead of risk, distance instead of misunderstanding. Focus on work, gym, hobbies, and vetted social circles instead of cold approaches in hostile terrain. The cost of a botched interaction has gone nuclear. The reward, maybe a date, maybe a hookup, maybe nothing, hasn't changed. The equation is broken. 2. There is no social permission anymore. Second problem. Approaching used to be built into the culture. Now it's treated as an interruption. Think about how people used to meet. Through mutual friends, church local community events, university societies, work gatherings, regular social clubs. In those contexts, you had a role. Friend of X, guy from the same class, fellow member. There was an implicit baseline of trust. The environment itself said, we are here to talk. We are here to meet people. Now look at the modern city. People commute with headphones on faces buried in screens. Everyone moving fast, eyes down, walls up. Any public space is assumed to be leave me alone by default. The social script has silently changed. The new rule they've written for you is simple. If I did not signal that I want to be approached, then your approach is an intrusion. It doesn't matter that you're respectful, that your intentions are clean, that you'd accept a no and move on. To many women in public settings, especially in big cities, any unsolicited interaction from a man is treated first as a potential threat, not an opportunity not a compliment, not a story. So when you walk up in a coffee shop, grocery store, or gym, you're not a confident, spontaneous man. You're often framed as interrupting, distracting, violating her personal bubble. And society, media, and certain online communities reinforce this constantly. Men, stop bothering women in public. If she's wearing headphones, leave her alone. Street approaches are creepy by default, so men adapt. They learn, if I speak, I risk being the villain. If I stay silent, I'm invisible, but at least I'm safe. And like any rational creature, they follow the path of least danger. 3. The death of third places. No natural meeting. Grounds. Sociologists talk about third places, environments that are not work, first place, and not home, second place, but neutral social spaces where people naturally connect. Community centres, hobby clubs, local pubs, where people actually talk, bookstores, churches, sports leagues. These were built for interaction. You'd see the same people regularly, slowly recognise faces, build familiarity. You weren't a random stranger. You were the guy who's always here at Thursday night basketball, or the guy who reads in that back corner. That familiarity melted the ice for you. But the modern world has turned most of those third places into high turnover consumption zones, fast, transit points, low trust, high speed environments. Even bars have changed. Loud music blocks, conversation, people sit in closed friend groups. Everyone is on their phone between sentences. Talking to another table is weird, not normal. Without natural social arenas, you're left with work. Dangerous to mix romance with career. Dating apps. We'll get to those. Or cold approaching in environments that are not designed for conversation. And then we wonder why both sides feel socially awkward, exhausted, and disconnected. The environment itself works against natural connection. 4. Dating has turned into a pay-to-attempt system. Now let's talk money. Every man over 25 has felt this. Dating is not just emotional effort, it's a recurring expense. The unwritten script still says, man suggests the date, man chooses the venue, man pays the bill, man handles the logistics, she sticks before. You'd meet someone organically. The first hangout might be low-key, low-cost, or even free. You'd feel the chemistry before the meter started running. Now, we've got $6 coffees, $15 cocktails, $30, $50 dinners, parking, gas, time, grooming, clothes. You're financially on the hook, before you even know if you actually like each other in person. Many women feel zero obligation to reciprocate that investment, emotionally or practically. You've seen it. Foodie dates, where she's there to eat, scroll, and vanish soft ghosting, after a man has paid for multiple outings. Women who show up with the vibe, entertain me, I'm the product, you're the buyer. If you approach 10 women in a month, get a few dates out of it, and every single one costs you time, energy, and money with no real connection, your brain starts asking, why exactly am I subsidizing strangers? High-value men in particular run the calculation. Could I put this money into my business? Could I upgrade my skills or health instead? What's the ROI of taking out yet another woman who treats the date like an interview where I'm the applicant? For a man with standards, the answer becomes obvious. The return isn't just low, it's negative. So he stops throwing cash at a dysfunctional dating market and puts that capital into something that compounds. His body, his mind, his craft, his network. 5. The smartphone barrier, competing with a screen. Look around any cafe, train or waiting room. Headphones, AirPods, eyes locked to a glowing rectangle. The smartphone is the new social shield. It signals, I'm busy, I'm elsewhere, my mind is not in this room. To approach a woman in that state, you're not just saying hi. You are interrupting a self-curated world, competing with algorithmically optimized entertainment, challenging an attention stream that's been engineered to be more stimulating than reality. On that screen, she has thousands of filtered profile options, endless validation, messages from men trying harder than you'll ever see, a perfectly controlled fantasy marketplace of attention. Now compare that to you, a real human nervous, unfiltered, time-limited, physically present. Which one feels safer, easier, more controllable to her? The digital environment gives her the illusion of infinite options with zero vulnerability. Reality asks for vulnerability. She has to look you in the eye. She has to respond in real time. She has no block or mute button. She has to risk awkwardness. So many women now treat in-person approaches as low status by default. Why would I deal with this random man when I can talk to whoever I want online and control the pace? This doesn't make you worthless. It just means you're competing with a dopamine machine. For most men, that's not a battle worth fighting in random public spaces. 6. Accumulated rejection trauma. The nervous system quits. There is a difference between being turned down respectfully and being dismissed like an annoyance or a threat. A strong man can handle, "Hey, I appreciate you coming over, but I'm not interested." What he cannot indefinitely absorb is eye rolls. You know. Reactions. Laughter to friends right in front of him. Being treated like he's done something wrong simply by trying. One harsh rejection isn't the end of the world, but multiply it. 50 approaches over 5 years, 30 of those neutral, 10 of those harsh, public, embarrassing. A few posted online, maybe a few misinterpreted or escalated out of nowhere. Your nervous system starts to adapt. It starts tagging approach as danger, seçmez pain, threat to self-esteem and safety. The body remembers tight chest, hot face, surges of shame. Sleepless nights replay moments over and over. So over time, your brain creates a shortcut. We tried this, it hurts, we're done. That's not weakness. That's a trauma response. And in a culture where men get almost no emotional support, their pain is minimized. Their experiences are mocked as, you just can't handle rejection. They go quiet. They stop volunteering for emotional beatdowns. Not because they're children, but because their nervous system is done being a punching bag. 7. Mixed messages and moving goalposts. We also have to talk about something every man feels but can't always articulate. The rules keep changing. Here's the messaging men receive. Be confident. Make the first move. Women hate timid guys. But don't be too forward. That's creepy. Be persistent. Don't give up easily. But know when to take a hint immediately, or you're a stalker. Show your feelings. Vulnerability is attractive, but don't be too emotional. That's icky. The same behavior can be interpreted as romantic or threatening, depending entirely on her mood, her trauma, her friends' opinions, the current social narrative. From your perspective as a man, that means you cannot predict how you'll be framed. You cannot know in advance which rulebook she's using. You cannot trust that good intent will matter if perception turns against you. So rational men ask, if the same action can make me either Prince Charming or public enemy, number one, why act at all? This is intensified in professional environments. One awkward moment at work can mean HR. One misinterpreted comment can sit in your file for years. One rumour can quietly block promotions or opportunities. High-value men, men with something to lose, quickly decide, no flirting at work, no dating anyone in my chain of command, no approaches that could get spun the wrong way, so they deliberately shut down any expression that could be reinterpreted later. Passive neutrality becomes their survival strategy. 8. Strategic withdrawal. Men investing where the ROI is real. Here's the part that most women and commentators don't understand. Men aren't just tapping out of the dating game and collapsing on the couch. The smartest, strongest ones are doing something else. They're reallocating resources. Instead of chasing texting all day, paying for strangers' dinners, shooting their shot in environments rigged against them, They're putting that time, money, and emotional energy into building businesses, getting their bodies into peak condition, learning high-income skills, deepening male friendships, traveling, acquiring assets, building a life that feels good from the inside, not just looks good from the outside. They're thinking in terms of, what can I control? Where does effort see result? What investments will still pay back 10 years from now? The dating market has become high risk, low transparency, no guarantees, an emotionally expensive business, fitness, skill building, self-mastery are high effort but also high reward and fully under their control, so they shift. They're not giving up on women. They're refusing to play a rigged version of the game, and ironically, the more a man pulls back from chasing and the more he builds himself, the more genuinely attractive he becomes. Women still want stability, strength, discipline, confidence, self-respect, and those qualities grow fastest when a man stops pouring his energy into low-quality interaction and starts pouring it into himself. So what do you do as a man in this climate? Up to this point, we've been diagnosing the environment. If all you do is stop here, you just become another guy venting online. That's not the goal. The goal is clarity first, strategy second. Here's the hard truth. The world is not going back to what it was. You will not wake up one day in 1995. So your job is not to complain about how things used to be. Your job is to become the kind of man who wins despite the chaos. This means shifting from, how do I get more women to like me, to how do I become the kind of man who doesn't need this broken system and can still create connections on his terms. Let's break that down. 1. Become undeniably valuable. You will never fully eliminate risk, but you can change your position in the game. When your life is small, mediocre, body, chaotic finances, no mission, no discipline, every rejection feels like a referendum on your worth. When your life is big, strong, healthy, well-trained, earning, building, stacking wins, clear mission, solid social circle. A rejection is just noise in the background, so train like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Build a career or business that makes you proud of what you do. Clean up every area of your life that leaks self-respect. Addictions, laziness, sloppy habits. When you respect yourself, you stop approaching from need and start approaching from choice. That changes everything. 2. Change your battlefield. Stop trying to approach in environments that are structurally hostile. Busy metros, workplaces, gyms where everyone is plugged in, loud clubs where no one can even hear you. Instead, tilt the field in your favour. Put yourself in environments where people already share an interest with you. Interaction is normal and expected. You'll see the same faces repeatedly. Examples: language classes, group training, martial arts, climbing, CrossFit, dance, niche meetups, volunteer organisations, industry events in your field. Now when you talk to a woman, you're not random guy who walked up out of nowhere. You're the guy who always kills it in training. The guy who gave that sharp comment in the workshop. The guy I've seen around here for weeks. You're not a stranger. You're part of her environment. That lowers her guard and your risk. 3. Stop seeking permission. Start enforcing standards. Most men are walking around with a hidden question in their head. Will she like me? The frame is backwards. The correct question is, do I like her enough to bring her into my life? That subtle shift calms your nerves, cleans up your behaviour, forces you to pay attention to her character, not just her looks. Your approach should never be, please pick me. It should be, hey, I'm enjoying my life. You seem interesting. Let's see if this goes anywhere. If she's rude, cruel, dismissive, she disqualifies herself, not you. You don't chase disrespect. You don't negotiate with contempt. You walk away. 4. Develop a modern approach strategy, not a 1990s one. You cannot run the old script, walk up out of nowhere, dump compliments, try to win her over. You need to adapt to reality. Practical guidelines, respect the context. If she's locked in on a laptop with headphones, buried in work, it's probably not the moment. Open soft, not intense. Quick situational comment, light observation, zero pressure. Read the response. If she engages, eye contact, full responses, asks a question back, continue. If she closes off, short answers, no eye contact, turned body, disengage, exit cleanly. Nice talking to you, have a good day. No begging, no pressure, no guilt tripping. Your job is to give the interaction a chance. Make it easy for her to opt in. Make it equally easy for her to opt out. You're not trying to force attraction. You're giving an invitation. 5. Accept the landscape without letting it define you. Yes, there is risk. There is unfairness. There is bias against men. There are women and systems that will abuse that bias. You can't change that alone. What you can change, how strong you are, how disciplined you are, how much you rely on hostile environments versus curated ones, how much validation you need from women. The more grounded you become, the less this outside noise dictates your behaviour. You'll approach less often, but more deliberately. You'll accept rejection, but not internalise it. You'll walk away from disrespect, without feeling like you lost. Final thought, the real risk. Here's the paradox. Yes, the risk of approaching has gone up. Yes, the punishment for missteps can be disproportionate. But there is another risk most men never calculate. The risk of looking back at 55, 60, 65 and realising you let fear run your life. That doesn't mean you act blindly. It means you understand the terrain, choose your spots carefully. Build a life so strong that no woman can make or break it. Approach when it makes sense, as a man with options, not a boy begging for attention. Men today are not crazy for withdrawing. They are responding logically to a system that often punishes them for being men. Your task is to refuse to be naive, refuse to be bitter and become so competent, so grounded and so selective that the game no longer drains you. It bends around you. If you want to keep dissecting these dynamics with a clear head and a straight spine, subscribe and stay close. We're not here to cry about the rules. We're here to understand them so well that they stop owning us.